What's up, guys? Jerry here with Sheepdogops. I am your usual sultry voice of entertainment every single week.
Sultry is questionable.
Sultry is very questionable. That's why I say it. I've been waiting for someone to argue with me, and not a single soul has fucking done it. So, but we've got a great guest on tonight. I know I wasn't actually planning on having a guest this week, so it was great that Devlin, you reached out to me. Do you prefer Devlin? I know you have a first name. Okay. So we're just going to call you Devlin then. So
I mean, that's what I've got my entire life. So
we'll take it. I'll take it. That's easy enough. So actually this is kind of my bread and butter, my area of expertise right here. This is another Air Force brother right here that I've got on the show with me today. I'm really excited about it. And without further ado, I want to give you the opportunity to kind of give yourself a little introduction. If you got anything going on that you want to shout out and want to get out there, this is the time, the moment, and your opportunity.
Man, I was going to do my shout out at the end, like after my post-military thing, but
you do it both times. I got 2 times for you. I want to make sure you get all the time. Shout out whatever you got to shout out.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm Devlin. Grew up in Oklahoma, joined the military, got to go do some cool shit, got out of the military, kind of had some fucked up shit, joined Team RWB, hence why I'm wearing the shirt. Got a lot of good stuff out of them, still doing a lot of good stuff with them. But yeah, I guess we're going to talk about my career.
Yeah, let's we're going to get into that stuff. I definitely want to ask you about that, what you're wearing and stuff like that. We'll get to that at the end when we're doing our bits for all the companies that are out here helping us out and hooking us up.
Absolutely.
So I kind of want to let's start off at the beginning. You know, when did you join? What made you want to join? What sparked your interest? What did you have going on? What's the meat and potatoes of why, when, and where?
So I joined when I was 19. I had gone to college at the University of Oklahoma for a year, kind of looked at it. I spent $17,000 in loans that I'm still paying off today, just for my 1 year in college, and joined the military for the education benefits originally. As I got into the military, more benefits came up and I got more intrigued. I kind of want to stay. Things happened that I needed to step away, so I ended my career after my 6-year contract.
Okay, so you did a full 6 year. You finished out your contract.
I did,
and that's 2009. I put you at 2015 at that point.
2013.
2013.
Yeah. So I joined in August of 2017 was when I signed my papers. Went to basic training January 2008.
Okay. All right. So. What was your job? What was your AFCC? What did you join to do?
I originally wanted to go medical. The National Guard, the unit that I went to, didn't have a medical spot available at the time, so I went security forces, which was kind of in my wheelhouse anyway. Both my parents were law enforcement. I kind of grew up in a law enforcement family, so going to a law enforcement career in the military kind of made sense.
Just so you guys know, for you guys who aren't Air Force guys, security forces is basically your it's all your cops that are on base, that are on station.
In a real shitty way to put it, security forces like Army MPs and Army infantry meshed into one career. We do a lot of law enforcement on the active duty side on bases. We do a lot of air-based defense and dismounted mounted patrols, things like that outside the wire in a deployed setting.
Okay. Which is a lot of what the Army guys have done or talked about when they've been on. So it's kind of that shitty side when you're overseas, but it's kind of just basically being a cop when you're at home, right? If we were to dumb it down for some of our fans.
Yeah, if you're going to dumb it down, you're going to be a cop at home. You're going to go do cool shit overseas that you hate.
I was going to say the Army guys, but you know what? That works for civilian people too who watch. Fortunately for me, I have a pass. I like to call it my pass. Our co-host, which is Mike. I know you guys don't see him today. I know I didn't shout him out at the beginning. He's the owner, CEO of Battleraddle. He's typically on with me. I think he's at school tonight, so he's not going to be available. But he's my token Army buddy. So I like to give him shit every chance that I get because he's ready and raring for Army's birthday to give me shit. So I got to take it when I can still do it.
Man, I do have to say, like, one of my favorite things of being, like, a veteran and being out, like, doing my time, getting out, being a veteran, is being able to go out and talk shit with the other branches. Like, go have a beer, talk shit, and we're all friends at the end of the day.
It really is my favorite part. Is, you know what? We can talk shit about every one of us, and each one of us talks shit about the other. But the moment that somebody who has no idea what we're doing or who we are steps in, we're all back to being one kind of family.
Yeah, so you want to go into a story real quick? I actually have a pretty funny story about that.
Let's do it. I'm in. This is free flowing.
So I'm in Oklahoma. I'm at a bar with a buddy. He's Army Special Forces. Another buddy is Navy SEAL. We played rugby in high school together. We were good friends growing up. And we're all talking shit, like Army, Navy, Air Force, all in the bar, talking shit to each other. And this dude walks up and he's like, "Man, you were in the Air Force?" And I was like, "I'm in the Air Force." He's like, "Man, well, you need to show these two some respect. They were heroes." Yeah. Like, yeah. Like, just completely degrading what I did in the military. I didn't even have to say anything. My two buddies jumped in and they're like, "Oh, so what'd you do?" And they're like, "Oh, well, I thought about signing up and I just couldn't do it." Dude, I just sat back and watched, like, the comments and the jabs and, like, the verbal beating that this dude took was enough for the bouncers to come and tell him to leave.
I'm gonna be honest. He deserved every ounce. And
every
absolutely. Sentence, every breath that was spent in whatever parade of insults and comments that were made. Deserved all of it.
Oh, absolutely. Like when I say he was berated, what is an understatement. And the funny thing is, like, all three of us kept our cool. I mean, you've probably been in similar situations, maybe not quite the same, but similar.
Oh, absolutely.
But, like, you keep your cool in those situations because it's funny to us.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? I just bouncing off of this story right now. I was going to rodeo one year because that's our big event here in California, at least in the valley where I'm at. And I had a vet who was selling freaking, you know, like the what do they call the programs for it? That was he was selling it for the VA, and it was for funds to it. And I was like, "Oh, well, you know, I'm a vet," and I gave him $20. They were $5. I gave him $20. Said, "You know what? I always make sure when the VFW comes around asking for money that if I can help, I'm going to help."
Absolutely.
And I had some dude who decided that he was going to be a smart ass and asked me about what was your MOS? And I turned to him and I was like, "Well, technically in the Air Force, we didn't have MOSs. I got an AFSC if you want to know that." And he you know what? Don't try and call someone out unless you're sure you have a reason to call them out. And there's some people.
Absolutely.
It's fucking clear as day. You call them out. You make them look stupid. You make them feel stupid, especially when they answer with an answer like, "Oh, I was going to join."
Yeah. Like, it's one thing if you say that I signed the paper, like I went to the recruiter and I got DQ'd because of a physical issue. Dude, you tried. Much respect for those people. Like, not everybody's meant to be in the military. It's just not going to happen. But don't try and play it off like, "Oh, well, I thought about going, but I just didn't." Don't play that shit off. You're going to get destroyed by someone that was in the military.
You didn't think about shit. I'm going to be honest.
No.
You didn't think about a damn thing.
No,
your mom
100%
and dad told
you didn't think about shit.
Kiss their ass, you ain't joining. That's what they told you. And when you turn 18, you stuck with it.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I have much respect for those guys with you because they stood up, they stepped up, and like all of us do, anytime, any place, anywhere.
Absolutely.
I'm here for it. Let's do it.
If you get DQ'd because your fucking depth perception is bad, at least you tried.
Yeah.
Much respect for those people.
I know a lot of them. I really do know a lot of them.
So do I. Like, there's a lot more out there than people think there are that tried to get in the military and they just couldn't.
Absolutely, and that's heartbreaking for some of them because I know that that's all they wanted to do, and that was all that their whole life was built around until they were told that they couldn't.
Yep.
So, I'm with Devlin on this. You guys, I appreciate the people who at least attempt to be part of the 1%. I know it's not easy sometimes, and life doesn't always give us the roll of the dice that we want it to. And I know we got a little bit off track here, but it was good. It was good quality content, and it was fucking real. So everybody knows it was real. So let's kind of get back on track here a little bit. We're walking through your career. I know that first year, because we were talking before the show, that first year was actually kind of brutal because you didn't sign up to be active, but it turned out that way.
So here's the thing. Like, I kind of knew before I went to basic training that there's a possibility that there was a deployment on the table. Okay. And it was going to come real close to me graduating basic training or tech school. Mm-hmm. So I said, yes, I want to go if it's possible. So I signed my papers in August of 2017. Didn't go to basic until January of 2007.
To 2008. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, didn't go to basic until January of 2008. 9 weeks of basic, 13 weeks of tech school, all at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. Unfortunately, that's where I'm living now. Separate story. But I finished tech school. I went home for a week and a half. I in-processed, I out-processed. I was in Fort Bliss for 2 weeks.
It's a god-awful base.
Doing my primo.
For
Fort
anybody
Bliss
who
is
wants
fucking
to know.
And the bad thing is we weren't even on Fort Bliss. We were on the McGregor and the Donna Ana base camp, like the annexes of fucking Bliss.
It's all shit. I don't care.
It's all shit regardless. But it went from like hard barracks to a fucking hooch. So we lived in like this metal shed for 2 weeks. Came home from primo, spent 3 days in process, out process. I'm on my way to Virginia. Spent 4 days there. I'm on my way to Kyrgyzstan on my first deployment. So my entire first year being National Guard in the Air Force was all active.
That's got to be brutal when, well, not maybe necessarily for you because you understood that that's kind of what you were walking into.
It is brutal on one standpoint. Like, I missed every major holiday. I missed all my family birthdays. I literally missed everything the entire year of 2008. So on that standpoint, it was pretty brutal. But my family knew, I knew going into it that was the possibility. I volunteered to go on that deployment. I went. I had a good time. I enjoyed my deployment. As fucked up as that sounds.
Well, and
like, deployments aren't supposed to be fun.
Well, it depends. I've heard
but
some
on some level, I think everybody enjoys their deployment on some level.
Well,
regardless of how shitty it is.
Yeah, and that's been the coolest thing about walking through this and doing this with vets is getting the opportunity to talk about it, and the camaraderie and everything that comes along with it is something that you would never trade.
Absolutely. I would go back and do my deployments over again in a heartbeat.
So since we're talking about your deployment right now, and we're walking through that and this obviously something that you would never trade. What is it that you did? And what is it that you got to do? Because I know that's they're two different questions and they're kind of loaded because you did one thing and then you got an opportunity to do something.
Yeah.
You know.
So as far as Kyrgyzstan goes, it was kind of weird. I didn't realize it was weird until someone brought it up to me on the deployment, like fresh out of basic and tech school. Didn't really know what a deployment was supposed to be like. Didn't hear any stories, like straight pipeline into a deployment. So as soon as we got there, like it was work 5 days a week. We did perimeter security. So we're in a Humvee patrolling perimeters, checking fences, checking TAS sensors, like doing our normal job. And we got the hostile fire, the combat duty, the hazard duty, like all the extra pays that you get for being in Afghanistan and in these hot zones. However, we got to go off base. So we got to go downtown Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, the capital. Like we were talking about earlier before the show, like got to go see the changing of the guard at the Capitol building. We got to go to the malls downtown. We got to go eat the local restaurants.
So
we went
just because I want to make sure that everyone else understands this, what exactly was the changing the guard that you witnessed?
So every 12 hours, they change. They do a shift change, basically. As far as their government goes and the way they run their Capitol building, they have someone in the military on post 24/7 on 12-hour shifts. So the changing of the guard is when that shift change happens. You've seen it in the movies. You've seen it in the news, whatever. Like they do the straight leg march. They show up. They do the little rifle twirling shit. They change post. The guy that was on post leaves. The new guy stays, and he stands there like a statue for 12 hours.
That's got to be something incredible to watch.
Like the discipline that goes into that. Like being in the military, you were in the military, you understand how discipline is instilled. But the discipline between the U.S. military and the discipline between their military in that regard is completely different. There's a select few. You've got the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Those guys are selected to do that job. You've got the Presidential Security. Those guys are selected to do that job from the Marines. Over there, like they're expected to do that.
Wow.
All of them.
So no matter who you are, you're expected to have this discipline, this ability, this concept. Because I know for me personally, if you want to do stuff like honor guard and you want to be able to do those kind of things that are more special duty stuff, you really have to work hard and
you have to prove yourself and show that level of discipline to be there. Where and that's the difference between the U.S. military. We have to prove our discipline to get those special assignments, where these militaries across the world, you're expected to have that. But on the other side of that, like you look at what we do as a military in a combat role, and I guarantee you our discipline in a combat role is 10 times that of any other country.
Man. Which really brings up the question, like obviously there's differences and people don't want to fight our military because they don't have any clue what we're going to do next. Because we have this undisciplined ability to do things outside of the lines and outside of the books. I don't know. Would you think that's like a free think kind of situation there? We aren't obligated to listen to the person above us at all times. We have that option to say, hey man, that's fucked up. That's FUBAR. I don't know if we should be doing it that way.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
To an extent. If someone above us tells us to do something illegal, we're not going to, I 100% think everybody in the military is going to step up and say, hey, this is fucked up. However, I think from the lessons we've learned in prior wars that sometimes that guerrilla tactic isn't necessarily illegal, and it's not against the Geneva Conventions. It's not questionable, but it's different than a straight up tactic.
I know we're getting into tactics here, and I didn't mean to throw you off base there. I just, you you listen to these stories and you start thinking about it, and there's an expectation of discipline, and that's I get it. I totally get it, because there's still an expectation even in the U.S. military of a certain level of discipline.
I'll step in on that one. It's not necessarily a certain level of discipline; it's a certain level of professionalism.
Okay. Yeah, no,
I'll
I can
switch the
agree with
words
that.
up.
No, I can agree with
So
that.
even we're very professional in our guerrilla tactics, if that makes any sense.
Yes. Yes, it does.
But I'm going to go way off topic here real quick. But you look at like World War II, you're fighting military on military. Both sides are uniformed. You know what you're doing. There's no need for military operations in urban terrain. There's no need for some of those guerrilla tactics. And then you get into Vietnam, where we're uniformed, they're not. And we're fighting Tom, Dick, and Harry. And then you get into Afghanistan, where they're kind of playing that same role. You don't know who you're fighting. You don't know what's around the corner. So those guerrilla tactics in a professional standpoint come into play, where your discipline is the same, but your professionalism, it might be a little different in how you handle that situation.
Huh. Yeah, and I love having these conversations because it's like, I get what you're saying. You don't know who your enemy is right now,
Absolutely.
and that you have to change your tactics based on the fact that you don't know who you're fighting. You don't know who you're fighting every single time. It could be one moment it's a grown man, next thing it's a child who's being forced to run a RPG up against a unit that's patrolling right now.
Yeah, and
And
from my personal experience, just to sidetrack a little more,
mm-hmm.
most of the time the people that you're shooting at aren't necessarily the bad guy. They were blackmailed into doing this, like, hey, go take this RPG and shoot the Americans or we're going to kill your family. And that's a lot of those ISIS and Taliban tactics. Like they're not fighting us themselves. They're using families and fathers of families to do that against us.
That totally makes sense. But then that really leads into the next topic that we were going to talk about. This idea of at some point you need to just kind of shut your mouth and learn, because we have to abide by these tactics. We have to abide by these things that people who've gone through it know what they're talking about, because it's not as cut and dry as that's the bad guy and you're the good guy. Don't shoot the guys in our uniform. That's
right. It's not black and white. It's not cookie cutter.
so,
It's very dynamic.
changing all the time. Every scenario, every scene changes every time you walk up on it. So, and that kind of leads to that point, that punch in the mouth that we wanted to try and hit with this episode, which was shut your mouth and learn. Because that was something you said it before, and because I approached you with the question, hey, if you could go back 10 years, what's the one piece of advice you'd try to give yourself? Or if somebody came up to you and said, hey, I want to do this, what would you tell them? And that was
yeah, and that was absolutely my statement. Shut your mouth and learn. Eyes open, mouth shut, learn what you can. Be a sponge.
Why? I guess
So on a personal level, me going from basic training to tech school straight into a deployment, I went into my deployment thinking I was hot shit because I graduated basic training as an honor grad. I was top of my class in tech school, thinking I was hot shit, knew everything, went in, thought that's how it worked. As I learned real quick in the first month of my deployment was dump everything you learned in tech school and we're going to train you our way. So you keep the core of what you were taught in tech school, but kind of some of the nuances and things like that are tailored to the unit and how things are done. So me going in hot shit, I actually got in a lot of trouble in my first month. Nothing crazy. I never got an Article 15. I never got an LOC or an LOR. But I got talked to a lot because I thought I was hot shit and I thought we were doing things the wrong way, which they weren't necessarily the wrong way. They just weren't how we did things in the active military. So that kind of goes back to that whole point of shut your fucking mouth and learn.
You're the whole. Well, that's not how they taught me in tech school, kid.
Absolutely. No, that's totally how I was.
At my last base.
Yeah. So, like me going straight from basic to tech school to a deployment kind of hindered me in that, especially being National Guard, because they don't, like the deployment tempo at the time was as high or higher as active duty.
I remember it.
But I didn't have any time to like mesh with the unit between tech school and a deployment. Like it was
show up, in process, out process.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jesus, man.
So I did the dumb thing. I was like, that's not what we learned in tech school.
I remember those kids. I had trainees like that, so I remember them. They were my favorite.
Dude, and the funny thing is, like, I look back and I was that kid. But, like, going on through my career, I remember those kids, and I fucking hated them. And then I had to go back and, like, shit, I was that kid.
I gotta find a way to reach them without making them feel like complete idiots, because that's how everyone made me fucking feel.
Oh no, we were security forces. Everybody was a fucking idiot.
Oh, that's true too. That's how maintenance looks at you guys too. Don't worry.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you know what? And this is something we were talking about before the show. My favorite part of this is because honestly, this would be, if I could go back and talk to myself, you know, before I joined, this would be the piece of advice that I wish I could hand myself. I kept my mouth shut through basic. I did that whole thing. Don't volunteer.
I did the same thing. We talked about that before the show. Like,
oh, absolutely. They threw me in roles. They made me do stuff, and that was fine. But I never volunteered. I never jumped out there. Yeah. And I wish I'd kept that mentality when I went to tech school, when I went to my first base.
Absolutely.
And you know, it's a great piece of advice, not only for military though. Sometimes.
Oh, that goes across the board in any career.
Absolutely. Just having a job in general, being a productive member of freaking society, sometimes you just need to learn that there's somebody who's been doing it longer than you, and shut your mouth. Just listen to them, because they're going to give you something that you're not going to find from anyone else.
Man, I've been out of the military for 6 years. It's been 11 years since that first deployment. I still use the shut up and learn.
It's a good technique. It's a great technique.
Like it especially like, so outside the military, in a civilian career, when you get a new job, regardless of what you know prior, like, shut up and learn that company's processes and their policies and things like that. Like, back to the original statement, shut your fucking mouth and learn.
They're going to teach you something, and it may not always be the right way or the correct way, but then you learn the process, you learn why they did it. You can go back and say, hey, we need to change this, this, and this. These
Absolutely.
are not following, but you can't do that if you don't go through the proper channels. You don't.
And I'm not going to toot my own horn, but like the position I'm in now, I got to because of that mentality. Like, you go into a job, you shut up and learn, and then you make it better. You find better ways to do things, and you progress your career that way. So not just the military, but life in general, just shut up and learn.
Oh, absolutely. I can't agree more with that. And if anyone is listening to this and they don't think you need this mentality, you're already wrong.
Yeah.
You're not even shutting your mouth now. You're probably yelling at the screen, telling me to go fuck myself, which is probably a number of people anyway. And
the funny thing is, I don't care what level you're at in a civilian job or what level you're at in the military, whether you're an E1 or an E9, or you're at a base level job or you're an executive. If you get a new job, shut up and learn. It's across the board great advice.
I'm talking to officers right now directly. Listen to the fucking troops around you, especially those fucking butter bars. Nothing personal, but you gotta agree.
Fucking butter bars.
You gotta agree, but there's people been doing it for a while. Listen to your troops. I know it sounds you think you're losing power, but shut your mouth and learn from them. They've been doing it for a little
That's
while.
stories about butter bars.
Well, hey, look, it's the perfect time for that. If you want to tell one, we're
All
here
right.
for it. It's story time.
So, negate that whole first month of me being in Kyrgyzstan being a fucking boot. Like, I shut my mouth, I learned, I got through things. And like later on in that deployment, we had a 6-month deployment. So later on, I don't remember when it was, but we had what we called the Everybody Hates America conference. It was Uzbekistan, Pakistan, Turkmenistan, like all the fucking stands were in Kyrgyzstan to have some fucking conference. I don't remember what it was called. We called it the Everybody Hates America conference. And we were told that there were Iranian snipers around the base, which automatically put the entire base into a no salute scenario.
Oh, of course.
I'm walking to breakfast on, like, not uniforms on, getting ready to go to work. I'm going to go eat breakfast in the morning. Before I go to work, past this lieutenant. Good morning, sir. How's it going? How are you doing? Like the common customs and courtesies that you're supposed to provide to an officer. But I didn't salute him because we're in a no salute scenario. And he looks at me and goes, "You're not going to salute me, Airman?" I was like, "No, sir, I'm not." He's like, "Well, why not?" I was like, "Well, you sit in your office for 8 hours a day. You didn't get the memo that we're in a no salute scenario." Apparently, I pissed him off. He went to my commander. My commander comes out to me. My commander comes out to my post, not like calls my post or calls me to his office. He comes out to my post, says, "Did you say this to a lieutenant?" "Yes, sir, I did." He goes, "Off the record, good job. Next time, don't be such an asshole."
I bet he was prior enlisted. I put money on it. That exactly. I'd put money on it. Money on it.
But to be fair,
time.
like I don't know how much experience you had with officers in security forces.
No.
But a lot of our officers were pretty solid. Even our officers straight out of the academy or straight out of our ROTC, like within security forces, because of the job and what we did, it's a little different mindset than the rest of the military.
Well, and I think that leads to, because it really is, and I could understand why you guys would have a different mindset over there. You're going to have a different setup as far as your officers falling into rank and you guys falling underneath them. In the maintenance world, though, it's a little bit difficult because you got these butter bars, you got these lieutenants that come in.
Yeah, and I think that's dependent on the job and the career that you're in. Like,
absolutely,
maintenance, I can walk in as a first lieutenant, second lieutenant, and run that department. No offense, like.
Well, yeah, of course you can run the flight. The problem is if you don't lean on the people who've been doing this for a decade or have been doing this for 5-6 years, you're really shooting yourself in the foot because you're asking people to do things that may be
you're not
impossible.
Going to be successful.
Exactly, and that was majority of ours. So
I can walk into a maintenance flight as a second lieutenant and run that flight as long as I have the right mindset of leaning on the people that have been doing it and things like that.
The E7s.
You
lean
can't
on your
walk.
E7s.
You can't walk into a security forces unit and expect to run a law enforcement career or a combat-oriented career, period.
Well, it's a totally different mindset. You have a totally different job going on. You've got a totally different responsibility. Our job is to make sure planes go up in the sky. Your job is to protect everyone who's trying to get those planes in the sky.
Yeah.
So it really is a different mindset, and I can totally see how when I talk about butter bars, it's a different mindset. For me, it's, hey, this dude went and tried to get me in trouble for something he told me I had to do, but wasn't possible. And I told him it wasn't possible. And when we went to the commander, I told him,
Commander said it wasn't possible.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Exactly.
But
on your guys' side, it's a little bit different. You have more of a responsibility to follow what they're saying.
Yeah, just the mindset and the career responsibilities are completely different. So I think our officers as a whole were actually maybe not necessarily seasoned in the career, but they were seasoned in the military and they kind of understood. Like, you can't walk into this career and change things.
Now, mind you, we both get fucked. If you're joining the Air Force, maintenance, security forces, and CE are the 3 career fields that get fucked the most often.
100%.
12-hour shifts, 16-hour shifts is a norm. Stupid exercises and all sorts of bullshit that comes along with it is a norm. And, go services. Just go services. If you want an easy, cut easy, dry, you go in, show up, you work,
if you want a cake career, go services.
10 to 1, and then you're back in the afternoon from, like 2 to 3:30. That's your area.
Yeah, come in right after breakfast, cook lunch, go home.
Exactly.
Be services.
Be services.
You want to run a ping pong tournament? Go services.
Services it is. You want to be over at the gym playing basketball all day when nobody's there? I'm telling you, be services.
Go services.
If you want to get fucked and completely screwed every single chance you get, work on an airplane, hold a gun, or work on buildings. Those are the 3 places that you can get fucked regularly. That's what I mean.
Which is real fucked up because we carry guns on a regular basis in security forces, and you want to fuck with us?
Well, that just makes sense. It's just the way life goes. All right, so I do want to give you an opportunity to shout out your who you're affiliated with, what you got going on, because we didn't get too deep into it. So what's it stand for? What you guys do? What's the big push there?
Yeah, so I'll kind of go back a little bit and give a little background. Like when I got out of the military in 2013, I was kind of in a shitty place. I decided I wanted to DJ just because I could be in a club drinking 7 nights a week, doing a bunch of dumb shit. Just kind of wanted to repress and drown some shit out. So I drank 7 nights a week. I'd go get drunk every night. I'd go to bed. I'd wake up. I'd go to the club. I'd drink. I'd go to bed. It was a pretty shitty cycle for a few years. And then I found Team Red, White, and Blue, so Team RWB.
Okay.
Can't tell. And their whole mission is to enrich the lives of veterans through physical and social activity. The cool thing is it's not restricted to veterans or military. We allow civilians in, we allow spouses and families. And if you were never in the military and you're not related to anybody in the military, you're welcome. A lot of what we do is social or like physical activities. So me personally, I did a lot of running. I did a lot of like group workouts. I've run the Ragnar Relay. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's pretty phenomenal. I've run a lot of 5Ks. I've run a half marathon. I ran a marathon. I've done CrossFit. We've gone axe throwing. We've gone to the bar and drank. We've gone rock climbing. Like we do it all as far as Team RWB. So your local chapters kind of dictate that, and your local directors kind of dictate what happens. But it's a little bit of everything.
Is it nationwide?
It is. It is a national organization. The website is teamrwb.org. You can go on there, click on chapters, filter by your state, find a chapter. I know Texas, we have 10 chapters within Texas. Oklahoma has 3 chapters. I don't really know about the rest of the country. I haven't really looked into it. But there's 120 something chapters across the country. Alaska has chapters.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
You guys are really doing some good stuff. That's, I'd love to talk to you about it. Maybe afterwards we can get in contact about this side of it.
Absolutely.
I'm looking for more veteran groups. I'm looking for more first responder groups, people like that. So that way I can direct people in the right direction for what they need. So I get a lot of people who are going through stuff or, that 3-year slump when you get out.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but that's pretty much every military person that I've met has a 3-year slump. And it takes them about 3 years once you get out to take your footing and reapply it to civilian life to get yourself going in the right direction.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what we do in Team RWB is trying to get to those freshly PCS, ETS troops to get them engaged in the community. And that's where I think Team RWB kind of sets themselves apart from other organizations, is that we allow civilians into the group. So it does kind of help that reintegration.
So you're not sitting out here doing this alone.
Yeah.
'Cause I think that's the hardest part for everyone that I've met in the military. For myself personally, the hardest part was getting to be able to acclimate yourself to civilians. It really is,
Yeah.
and being able to
Absolutely.
talk and being able to confer with them and talk to them
And
in a
that's kind of
manner.
where, yeah, that's kind of where Team Art of UV kind of stepped in. Like I got to talk to military veterans that kind of understood where I was coming from and understood what I did. They may not have done the same thing, but they kind of understood because they went through the same situations.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got civilians there as well that are listening to these stories, and they're not judging you. They're not stepping in like, oh, why'd you do that? They're not poking and prodding at it. They're actually intrigued by your story.
Well, they want to learn. They want to know why.
Yeah.
They're people who actually care, and that's hard to
Yeah.
find these days. So, and
Absolutely.
I appreciate what you guys are doing, and I'm glad you are. Yeah, and we'll definitely be in contact here after this because I'd love to see you guys' mission statement, maybe work something out. Maybe we can shout you guys out here on a regular basis because we're looking for that, looking for people.
Yeah,
like
I'll definitely get you in contact with the right people.
Absolutely. This is my part of the show where I got to make sure I get my shout outs out there. I want to make sure that Battleraddle, you guys go check them out. That's Battleraddle with 2 D's, Raddle. They've got all my merch. They've got a whole bunch of shirts, badass stuff out there. We've got designs coming out on a regular basis. They've got some really cool affiliate program stuff. So if you guys are a gamer or you guys are doing some other stuff, they really have the hookups. They're trying to pay people to have their logo slapped on their stuff. So if that's what you guys are into, go check it out. I know that that's something that they're working on right now. They've got some great sales going on if you go to their Facebook page, and just keep a lookout for those stuff because they always got buy one, get ones or buy two, get ones. I know we just got done with a crazy going out of business furniture style sale, buy two, get two. So they've got stuff like that going on every single month. And so just go check it out. And I think right now they're doing free shot glasses or something like that if you buy a couple shirts. And they're badass. And they're doing free bottle openers and things like that. I want to make sure that everybody knows what they've got going on. For the Sheepdogops portion of it, we've got some really cool things coming forward, guys. I've got some great guests lined up. We've got some more companies lined up that are veteran-owned businesses and things like that I'm really excited about. You go check out. We're going to be getting our own web page here shortly in the future. So that way everything is on its own, not just through Battleraddle. We're excited about that. Other than that, make sure that you're donating if you guys can donate because we're trying to make sure that we get more guests on here. We're trying to make sure we have better equipment, better audio, better quality just for you guys. You can donate at Patreon. You can donate on Anchor.fm. You can donate at PayPal. All of that's going to be under either Sheepdogops or the sheepdogmindset@gmail.com. That's the email that you guys can reach me personally at. I try to reach out back to every single person that emails me.
No one wants to talk to you.
No one does. That's unfortunately, I wish that was true. I've dealt with more people talking about their problems. Actually, I love it. I love having the opportunity to talk to people about their problems, especially military guys, cops, firefighters, anybody like that. I've had 2 or 3 people this last week reach out, and I was able to push them in the right direction. And so that's what's been great about this. Also, people like Devlin are part of programs where I have somewhere to push you guys, where I can have somewhere for you guys to find what you need. Whether it is you need somebody to go work out with because you're out and you just don't want to do it by yourself, or you actually need some advocacy and you need to talk to a VA group that can help you out. We want to make sure that's available to you guys. So sheepdogmindset at Gmail.
I do kind of want to set that out. Like, I'll shoot you my email address, but I'm connected with so many different veteran organizations.
Perfect.
Like, if Team RWB is not the right fit for you, I probably know an organization that is. And for the most part, you need somebody, you need some organization, you need some sort of help, whether it's going out hunting or going and playing softball or whatever it is. Like, I have a lot of connections. I've been doing this a long time. One of my passions now is helping other veterans, and I have a lot of connections.
And that's what I love doing this. If you guys want to reach out, I'll make sure that, Devlin, if you have any information that I can give these people, it'll be in the description of this episode here, guys. I'll make sure that Team WRB's web page is actually on there. It'll be in the description. You guys can find it there. I want to make sure you're hooked up with with wherever you need to be, because as veterans, we try to do everything alone. And every single person that we've talked to on this, whether they're vet, whether they're a cop, a firefighter, dispatcher, whatever the position that you hold, every single one said, don't do it by yourself. You're not going to find a single person
100%.
on here who says, hold on to it, and you can carry it yourself. There's not going to be one. Because we've all done it. We've all gone through it.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And that's where we have these issues with suicide rates and things like that. And that's what we're trying to prevent. We're trying to stop. So help us out. If you need some help, we can help you. So help me, help you. And that's all of our mantra, I think, that I've been fortunate to run into, is help me, help you.
Yeah.
That's the only way to do it. This is my helping. I get an opportunity to talk to people and have a badass time cussing and telling stupid stories. But I know somewhere, someone needs to hear these stories. And I think that's what I told you when we first started talking about this, is my biggest thing is everyone's got a story. Someone somewhere needs to hear it.
Yep.
And so that pretty much sums up everything for this episode. Devlin, I appreciate you coming on, my man. I know this was last minute.
Thanks for having me.
I love the fact that you were able to cut out and make sure we got this done tonight. This will be up here probably tomorrow. So I know whenever you guys watch this, tomorrow will be whenever it is. But Thursdays is normally when we release. So other than that, I'm going to do our normal spiel on out of here, guys. And it's been great talking to you, Devlin. I appreciate it. And remember,
Appreciate
guys,
you having me, man.
Remember, guys, don't be the sheep in the fight. Be the dog.